Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Accessing Ability to Benefit, Building on What Works. I'm going to turn it over to Nikitna Barnes, and everyone enjoy the webinar. Nikitna?
Hello, everyone. Our goal today is to provide you all with general information about ability to benefit and how we're implementing the process in our adult ed programs here in Mississippi. Thank you to the COABE team for this opportunity to allow us to share the good work that we are doing here in Mississippi. It's always an honor to share with others, especially best practices. And so we just want to make sure and we hope that you all gain knowledge from our presentations and the things that we're doing in the field today. Okay, next slide. Our discussion for today will be about why ability to benefit is important to us. What is ability to benefit? What our Mississippi Ability to Benefit State Plan consists of, and most importantly, you will hear from 3 of our program directors about how they implement ATB on their respected campuses. So it's not just me today. I have 3 of my colleagues in which I will introduce them toward the middle of the presentation. Next slide. So why ability to benefit is important to us? Mississippi is no different from other states that have middle skill gaps, which means we have jobs available in our state, but we lack individuals with the skills to fill those jobs. Here in Mississippi, we have over 300,000 individuals who do not have a high school diploma. And in return, we serve over 10,000 students annually through our adult ed programs statewide. So to us, we use ability to benefit as an opportunity and as a resource to help students gain required skills for the workforce. Most jobs require a high school diploma, as you know, but less than a 4-year degree. So our short-term, less expensive community colleges work for our students. And our IET programs help accelerate the time to completion for our students, which we'll talk a little more about IET and how we're implementing that in a couple of slides over. Next slide, please. So currently, the financial aid eligibility requirements are that an individual have to have a financial need. They must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. Must have a valid identification number, a social security number, be registered with selective services for our male individuals or male students. Must be enrolled in an eligible degree or certificate program. So what this means for us and what this means for ability to benefit is that students must be enrolled into a degree-seeking program, which means you just can't enroll a student who is going through ATB into a class that is not, or a course that is not connected to a degree-seeking program. So they have to be on a path. Students must maintain satisfactory academic process. And what that looks like is that students are required to perform or maintain academic progress just like traditional or regular students. It doesn't matter that they're coming through adult ed. They still have to maintain that GPA that is required. Students must complete the FAFSA. Students must show that they are qualified to obtain a college or career school education by having a high school diploma or a high school equivalent, or the completion of high school education in a homeschool setting, or they're in the process of being enrolled into an eligible career pathway program, and they're meeting one of the ability to benefit alternatives. So there are three options, which we'll talk about that a little later as well. But for us, it's our My Best program. And we'll talk about that one as well. Okay, next slide. Currently, the guidance for ability to benefit is that it is a provision of the Federal Higher Ed Act. It was put in place for individuals who did not have or do not have a high school diploma. What it does is it allows individuals the same opportunity as others, but they have to prove their ability to benefit from college. So in that, there are three options. There are three eligibility options for ATB. So the first one is, the first option is that a student can come in and pass the ATB acceptance academic assessment or entrance exam. So that's the AccuPlacer for us. The ATB AccuPlacer, because there's more than one AccuPlacer test. So you have to make sure that you're giving the correct test. So we use the ATB AccuPlacer. The second option is to enroll and earn 6 college credits without financial aid. So once the student enroll in those first 6 credit hours, they must pass the 6 credit hours in order to be eligible to apply for financial aid. And for us, I know some of you may be, thinking, well, how do they pay for the first 6 credit hours? And for us, we use grant funds. And there's some other options that we have out there, but normally for our first 6 credit hours, we use grant funds for our students in past. And currently, we have W.K. Kellogg Foundation funds. We have funds from the Mississippi Department of Human Service. And there's also some local funds. There are also some waivers through the college. So it just depends. But those are some funding sources that we use to pay for the first 6 credit hours. And the third option is to qualify for and complete a state-defined ATB eligibility process. So we do have a ATB state plan approved here for our state. And so that is an option that we have for our students as well. So the benefit of having that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but the benefit of having a state plan is that when you don't have the grant funds to pay for the first 6 credit hours, then the student can use the state plan. And our state plan is simply modeled after our My Best program, which is our IET program. Next slide, please. So My Best. My Best is our state-approved career pathway program. And My Best stands for Mississippi Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training. As you can see on the screen, My Best has the 3 IET components. You see the adult education and literacy component. You see the workforce preparation component, and you see the workforce training component. All 3 of those IET components are embedded into My Best. We began My Best in 2015. We had planning meetings prior to its existence in 2013. And as we had planning meetings prior to its existence in 2013 as a result of having a trade adjustment grant from the Department of Labor. So My Best is our IET program, as I said, and it was designed with those components concurrently and embedded in the program. We also got a planning grant before we started the work of My Best to bring representatives from all colleges and all programs together so that we could put policy in place for the statewide career pathway program. So it wasn't just us putting these pieces together. We had the help of the whole community college system. We also had the support of all of our community college presidents who appointed staff to be a part of the planning team for My Best. Next slide, please. So our Mississippi State defined ATB process. The eligibility for our state ATB plan consists of career, tech, My Best pathway programs. So when we started this work, we didn't create things. We didn't create new things. We used what was already in place. So our career tech programs that are used for ATB are programs, career tech programs that were already board approved through our community college board system that funnels through our CTE department here at the board. So we didn't develop anything new. These programs already had curriculum attached. They already had certificates or credentials attached. And the curriculum team started putting an accelerated approach to some of the career pathway programs. So we use what's already there. The only thing the individual schools do is they let us know which career pathway program they're using for their My Best programs, which lines up with ATB. The second one is that we must include all students, okay? In saying that, the target population that we're using for adult ed is the same population for ATB. So coming into ATB, you have to come in through adult ed through My Best. So the target population is already there. So we're just using the students that we have. The next one is that participating students must be concurrently enrolled. Again, our state plan was written and modeled after our My Best program, a program that is a integrated and concurrently focused program. So we're not doing anything different than we did before. Next slide, please. Under the MCCB process for ability to benefit, participating colleges are required to provide each participating ATB student with comprehensive support and services. The process starts with adult ed program. You can't utilize ATB if you're not in adult ed. Next slide, please. The required services for the ATB state process are the 6 that are listed on the screen. All 6 of these things are things that we were already doing in our programs. Orientation. So orientation is scheduled or done during the intake process, along with assessment and goal developments for our students. Tutoring. We offer tutoring to our students who need it. We also provide counseling and case management for our students, and we measure their progress and student follow-up. So these things are already in place at all of our programs. And on the next screen, you will see with the monitoring and compliance part. Next slide, please. You will see that, and I'm sure you all do this as well, but we monitor our programs year round. So we just include ATB in that monitoring process. We also have grant compliance visits. So we're monitoring the programs to make sure that everything lines up with what the ATB state plan guidelines say that we should be doing. Because with ATB, we are subject to audits. So anybody who's using ATB, and it doesn't have to be the state plan, you're subject to be audited. And so making sure that you have all of these things in place is very important. But again, it's nothing different than you're already doing through adult ed. And so when we go out to monitor for annual visits and for compliance, we're checking those things to make sure that they are in place. With our data, we use our LACES system for data. And then there is a student success rate that has to be calculated for our reporting for ATB state plan in order to be renewed. And not just to be renewed, but at the end of the state plan cycle, there's some information that we have to report. And so that report, part of that report is a student success rate. So we're using our LACES system to gather that information or that data. And we're also using information from our state board office through our institutional research office. Those are things that come in through enrollment and some of our other systems that are connected here at the board. Next slide, please. Okay. So what we have now is what is kind of the meat of everything. So hearing from our programs in the field is really going to give you a bigger perspective of what ATB is and how the processes, the different processes that they implement on their campus work. So we have Allison Brady from Mississippi Delta Community College. Allison is an adult ed director in the Mississippi Delta. Lauren Powers, she's at Hines Community College, and Lauren is the director of IET and My Best. And Alfreda Thompson from East Central Community College. Alfreda is also an AE director. So before they start to tell you their process, I want to mention a few things that I think are important for everyone to know. Don't overthink ATB. You're already doing the work. You already have processes in place. Or if you don't have the processes in place, build on to what you have. A lot of people overthink ATB. Don't overthink it because you're already doing the required work. The second thing is you won't have a lot of ATB students. So the number of students that you have enrolled into your program are not the same number of students you will have for ATB. So I just want to let you all know that you won't have this huge number of ATB students. ATB is a resource for your students when they need it. What we have been doing here in Mississippi is we set a goal. We set a goal for the number of IETs that we're going to get for the program year, and we set a goal for ATB for the year. Again, you won't have a huge number of students for ATB. Everyone's process will not be the same. You'll hear today that all three of these colleges have different processes. So some are lengthy, some are not. It just depends. And the last thing is that it takes a team to make this work. So your admission person, your business office person, your financial aid person, your CTE dean, your IET person, your AE director. Um, those are the people who need to be at table. Your VP, your institutional research person. So you can't do this work alone. You're going to have to reach across campus and pull people in. And when you hear from my colleagues, you'll understand why. Um, if you can't get people on board with ATB, then maybe you're not the right person. Maybe you need to talk with someone else to try and to explain what ATB is and the purpose of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Allison, who is going to tell you about their process at Mississippi Delta. And I failed to mention this in the beginning, but if you all have any questions, could you please put your questions in a Q&A section, and then we'll try to answer them as best as we can. Okay, Allison?
Thanks, Nikitna. As Nikitna said, my name's Allison Brady. I'm the Director of Adult Education at Mississippi Delta Community College. I see we've got one question in the Q&A regarding the relationship or collaboration needed between adult ed and the financial aid office to make ATB happen. I'll try to speak to that a little bit. But just to start, I kind of wanted to share what MDCC sees as the value in ATB. And that's just really that it allows our students to start taking college classes in an approved pathway at the same time they're working on their HSE still. So it opens up financial aid even to those students who have not fully completed their HSE yet, and really kind of gives them that head start on long-term career goals. So that's sort of how we, explain it or sort of sell it to students. And for our ATB process itself, our process really begins right at the point where in Mississippi, all of our community colleges have college and career navigators, which essentially serve as counselors for our students. And they help students sort of transition on their long-term goals. So when our college and career navigator recruits a student to our My Best program that Nikitna mentioned previously, our navigator will have that initial conversation with the student to let them know that we're very fortunate at Mississippi Delta. We do have grant funding from both the Kellogg Foundation as well as Mississippi Department of Human Services. So when we sit down with a student, we let them know that grant funding will pay for their first 6 credit hours in their IETP. But then if they continue for a second semester of 6 credit hours, we will help them to complete FAFSA to get an ATB Pell Grant to pay for those next 6 credit hours, since our grant funding can only pay for the first 6. So we really want to have that conversation with students up front so they understand the financial plan for how their program will be paid for. Then as students' first 6 credit hours come to a close, our college and career navigator will sit down and complete FAFSA with them. So that's something that our college career navigator is working on right now at this time of year, since we've got a lot of students wrapping up their fall semester and looking at continuing with 6 more credit hours in the spring. So she's helping them to complete FAFSA. Of course, that's something students do ultimately need to complete themselves. We're not doing it for them, of course, but she's there as a guide, answering questions they might have. And then at that point, in early January, once we return from our Christmas break, our college and career navigator will send the list of students to our financial aid director who are eligible for ATB Pell Grants. And at that point, our financial aid director will release those ATB Pell Grants to their account. And again, that eligibility comes from the fact that they're enrolled in approved pathways. And for us, they will have already have completed 6 credit hours in the fall as well. So they sort of have both avenues of eligibility. I would say that this, sort of speaking to that relationship with financial aid, that was certainly the main challenge that we initially faced when implementing ATB, was working with our financial aid director, just because the process was unfamiliar to her. And so she essentially had to figure out how to do it for that first time.
And I supported her through this process. And luckily, Nikitna sent me resources from MCCB as well as individuals for her to speak to so she could learn those processes on the financial aid side of things. And so I was able to connect her with folks from the community college board. And once she learned the process for the first time, everything's been smooth since then. And we just keep those lines of communication open. And I would say just my advice, broadly speaking, is to ensure that you are informing students up front as to what the ATB process looks like. And just more broadly speaking, what the process for paying for their programs in general looks like, since students deserve to know well in advance how their classes are going to be paid for and if or they're going to be responsible for anything and what those things might be financially. And then, of course, I would highlight that you need to have that strong communication between yourself or, your navigator or counselor and the financial aid office. That's essential for for ensuring that ATB runs smoothly. If you have any additional questions for me, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section. Nikitna, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. If you have any questions for Allison, just please drop them in the Q&A and we'll answer them as we go along. Lauren, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Lauren Powers. I'm the Director for Integrated Education and Training, my best, and the Coordinator for Adult Ed at Hines Community College. I think the biggest thing that maybe y'all want to know about, just based off that Q&A question, is that, or the most important thing that I think that I need to share is that ATB cannot work if every department involved is not on the same page. So it needs to, if you're trying to just get started implementing ability to benefit, then I think it's important to note that you are going to need your adult ed director or your financial aid director. You're going to need your business office. You're going to need admissions. Like Nikitna mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you're going to need your vice president or your CTE and workforce deans or directors, whoever it is at your college who operates those departments. They all need to be a part of the conversation. For me, I feel like ability to benefit is a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for the students. It's a win-win for your college because they do get FTE funds as a result. It's a detailed process. I know Nikitna said that you may not have a lot of students that will benefit from ability to benefit. For us at my college, though, majority, if not all of our students at some point do benefit from ability to benefit. Like Allison mentioned, we are also very fortunate to have grant funds at Hines. We do have Kellogg funds. We do have funds from the Department of Human Services, like she mentioned, and we also have other funding sources as well that assist our students with different funding opportunities. But by far, our students do, all of our My Best students do apply for FAFSA, and majority of them do qualify for Pell as a result of the ability to benefit. I think that it's important to mention that I don't know if it was really made clear that, yes, our students, to get ability to benefit, they can take the AccuPlacer, the ability to benefit AccuPlacer. If they take and pass that, then they qualify. If they take and pass 6 semester credit hours, then yes, they qualify. Of course, if they earn their HSE, then yes, they qualify. But now with our state plan, students just have to be concurrently enrolled in adult ed and be in an approved My Best program of study. If they just meet that one requirement and they meet the qualifications for FAFSA, then they're going to qualify for ability to benefit aid. So we try to work with all of our My Best students, particularly to ensure that if they qualify, then they do apply and get that ability to benefit aid? I guess, I mean, I can go a little bit more in detail. I mean, if I need to, as far as how it works within the departments, because
Lauren,
there is
can
like
you
a
talk,
learning curve. I mean, I don't know if that's what we're needing to kind of talk about here, Nikitna.
Lauren,
Mhm.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you talk about what the process looks like once you have identified a student for ATB? Who are the people who,
So yes, that's exactly what I was about to do. So
okay.
how this works for us, because we do have all these different departments at the table. So how it starts is I will send a spreadsheet. I know that might seem kind of old school, but we send a spreadsheet. I send a spreadsheet to our financial aid and admissions departments. Our admissions departments takes that spreadsheet and they code everybody on that spreadsheet in a particular manner. So they may code them as my best. If that student is going to qualify for aid, though, that student will be coded as integrated pathways instead of my best. So if a student is coded as my best, then that's a flag to our financial aid department that that student is not going to be receiving financial aid. Their funding will be coming from a grant source. So it'll be coming from Kellogg, it'll be coming from MDHS or one of our other funding sources. It will not be coming from ATB. If a student is coded as integrated pathways, then that's our systems in admissions. They know that they can register for anything beyond most of the time, if they've earned their HSE, they can register for classes beyond the career certificate level most of the time. But it also is a flag for our financial aid department that says, okay, if they're in integrated pathways, then I know that they've met one of the requirements to qualify for ATB. And that's their flag to say, okay, I can go ahead and release these funds to this student. If that helps any.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any questions for Lauren? So you did hear Lauren say that they do have a lot of ATB students. Hines Community College is one of our largest community colleges. I think they have 5 or 6 campus locations, and they're in the capital city. So they're here in the greater part of the state. Allison is in the Mississippi Delta, which is a smaller area. And Alfreda is at East Central Community College, which is another smaller area. So it just depends. Sometimes you get an influx of students and sometimes you won't. But I just don't want y'all to think that you have to have this huge number of ATB students, because it's not going to always be like that. So there is a question for you, Lauren. Did you say almost all of your students benefit from ATB? What percentage of students do you serve, would you say, are ATB students?
Yes, a majority of our students do benefit from ability to benefit. And I would say before it's all said and done, probably 95% of our students benefit from ability to benefit. I have actually been with the My Best program since it started in 2000. Like Nikitna said, it started here in Mississippi in 2015. And we've been utilizing ability to benefit since that time. And so I would say 90 to 95% of our students benefit from ability to benefit at some point in time in the course of them taking college credit classes.
And I will also say that that our students.
So there was also another question. I don't know if this is for me or if it's just for all of us as a panel.
Yeah.
But it said that are all certificate programs at the college considered My Best, or just
Yeah,
some?
I can answer that one. No, not all certificate programs at the college are considered My Best. Some of the programs are. So we have a process for our approved My Best pathway programs. So colleges can only use, for MyBest and for ATB, programs that are approved, board approved, already approved on their campus. Once they decide what program they want to use, then there's a process within that with AE that they have to fill out a form to tell us what that program is, how many students they expect to be in that pathway program, what are the first 6 or 15 credit hours or courses will be within that program, the location of that program, the zip code for that program. So there are some things that they have to give us. We have a master list that we keep all of our approved pathway programs on for all of our programs for MyBest and for ATB. Programs are selected based on, for each individual program, AE program and MyBest program, programs are selected based on the students' interest and jobs that are available in the area where the college is or the AE program is serving. So what we don't want to do is have students to go through a career program and there's no jobs available when they get out. So a lot of this was determined by labor market information for the local areas. But no, not all programs are considered MyBest programs. There was also another question about, do students need to have a Social Security number for ability to benefit? So I would say yes, because that is a requirement for financial aid. I would say yes, or whatever that identification number is for that student. I hope that answers your question. Okay, we're going to move on to Alfreda Thompson from East Central Community College.
Thank you, Nikitna. Yes, my name is Alfreda Thompson, and I am the director here at East Central Community College. And it looks like you guys have covered all the financial side of how to become ability to benefit for the student. So I'm going to cover the process as to how they get to that point. So our process starts with the intake process. Our teachers send the names of the students to our CCN for interviews. During the interview process, the CCN checks to see if the student has any barriers. And if there are any barriers, our CCN works with various core partners. Our CCN also completes our student success plan during the interview to locate the student's career pathway. Once that career is identified, the CCN reviews approved pathways to see if the student qualifies for their chosen pathway. Once the pathway is approved, the CCN connects students with the MyBest career pathway of their choice. Now, to qualify for ability to benefit, which you guys have already discussed, our students need to take 6 hours. And after completing those 6 hours, we forward our names to our financial aid department. And they assist our students with their financial needs. Now, I do see value in ability to benefit. I think it's great for our students. It assists our students financially. Our students receive a lifelong skill, and our students become productive citizens. It also helps them believe in themselves. And we did face some challenges, and some of them were, how were we going to reach all of our students within our 5 districts promptly? And also our enrollment. And how we overcame those challenges were creating an appointment log for our CCN, which is our Career and College Navigator, to schedule appointments with our students. That will allow her to see them promptly within the 5 districts. And for our enrollment, we start having college and career CTE tour days. And I agree with everyone else, a critical factor for ABT success is having an established, solid working relationship with the financial aid office, your admission office, your CTE, and workforce department. Now, thank you on me.
Are there any questions for Alfreda? And as you heard, we serve several different locations. And so they're always trying to make sure that that the students have the same opportunity at the satellite locations that they have at the main campus location. Okay. So there are no remaining questions. We have the email address for all 3 of the directors listed here on the screen. If you want to email them individually, then please please do so. You're welcome to do that. On the next screen, I think is my contact information. If you require additional information, we're always open to talk and to tell you what we're doing here in Mississippi. Me from the state level, I do have knowledge of what they're doing at the local levels. But if you want to talk to some of the local level programs, these are just 3 of the 15 that either currently implement ATB or have implemented ATB in the past. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we certainly appreciate you all time with us today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nikitna. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
You will receive your certificate if you joined us within 24 hours of the live webinar. I'm going to launch a poll right now. If you could fill that out before you leave. And everyone have a great afternoon. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.